Good afternoon. This is John Davis, and I'm with Linehaul Central. I'm one of the owners of Linehaul Central. And in this webinar, I have Brian O'Connor, and I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping things about this webinar before we get started. I want to let everybody know that we are recording this webinar for future use, and so you'll be able to share it and refer back to it. We have all the attendees muted during the webinar, and then y'all have the ability to ask questions in the Q&A box as we're going through this. And what I do is I'll go through the presentation. As you think of questions, put them in the Q&A box, and then at the end of the webinar, I will answer all the questions that are put in there. So I'd like to introduce you to Brian O'Connor with Paradiso Insurance.
Thank you. Thank you, John. So most of you know who I am. Most of us are all friends. So I have been insuring FedEx contractors since 2011, and rarely do I get behind another vendor like I'm doing today. So a good amount of my clients already utilize Line Haul Central, and I keep telling more and more clients to use it, or at least go through the demo, because my clients absolutely love this program. So John has been able to take some of my clients who are tier 2 and bring them up to tier 4, which can greatly improve their business and their life. So John's going to tell you all about the program today. Hopefully you'll love it. And Paradiso Insurance clients do get a very nice discount with this program, and it really has helped us decrease the loss ratio on the truck insurance and the work comp insurance. So thanks, John.
Awesome. And to follow up on Brian, Brian and I have known each other for a couple of years, and we really enjoy working with Paradiso Insurance. And what I love about their program is they really care about coming up with different solutions to help you guys and reducing cost in your insurance and your claims and all that. And he has been instrumental in helping us develop programs and things to make us better and the Paradiso clients better. And it's really it's been remarkable what he has done. I mean, when he was learning about Lionel Central, it wasn't just talking to me or seeing me at a show or whatever. I mean, he went down to our call center in Daphne, Alabama, wanted to meet our staff, wanted to have a full understanding of our software platform and how we do things and do that. So Paradiso is an integral part, and Lionel Central really values this relationship here. And our goal is to make the Paradiso clients safer so that we can make Brian's team's job a lot easier in handling claims and getting reduced insurance rates. So I want to go a little bit about introducing our main management team. So Becky and myself, we own the company, and Richard is our vice president of DOT compliance, and Devin and Patrick are our fleet safety managers. These are the main folks that handle the overseeing of the operation. We also have a dedicated team that's working 24/7 in Daphne. That's our call center. That's the center that the drivers call into. We have people that are putting data in from the VEDR team, the ELD team. We have training. We have manager training. We have onboarding folks. We have a very large team to handle the safety program for each company. So I want to tell you a little bit of how we got into this. So Becky, she ran a 50 truck operation as a line haul contractor, and she was really struggling with her safety. She kept failing her KIs every month. And so she hired me. I've been doing this for 36 years. I was a risk manager of Lowe's Home Centers, been claim managers, been loss control, a whole lot of experience. So she hired me to come in and run the safety for her contract. And we were struggling at a 2 at the time, and we had to take it from a 2 back to a 4. And it was really getting into the processes. And once I was working with Becky, and we just figured out that there was a lot to this than just watching cameras and watching our KIs. I mean, you think about your SRS report, you think about the different things that we deal with in the ELD and door pulls and trailer disconnects and all the different things. There's a lot that it goes into a safety program than just watching cameras and did I pass my KIs this month and all that. So once we improved her program, then we said, well, we should probably start a company and do this for other line haul contractors. We do, the majority of our business is line haul, but we do have some P&D contractors also. So we do service both. But the whole idea was to become an outsourced safety program in which that we can, assist the contractor at a much better cost and that we can cover that 24/7 period versus what traditional BCs and safety folks can do for an operation. So a little bit about what we do. We have our own software, and the way I explained our safety dashboard, our safe dashboard, is it's just a tool. It's really just solving the problem of safety is working over in this silo, operations is in another silo, and this software is bridging the gap to communication of what's going on with the safety. So we are monitoring the cameras every day. We are going through the ELD every day. We're putting in data from those two systems. We're looking at the training systems. We're looking at driver behavior. We're doing everything to put a real-time notification in the software to our customers about what's going on at any given time. So you can see it in real time on that. One of the main things that separates us as a safety vendor from anybody else is we are driver direct, meaning that if we see an issue with a driver, we're going to call the driver. I'll give you an example. We get a notification in our alert channel that the driver has an obstructed camera. We get that alert into our call center. We call the driver. We tell them, hey, what's going on with the camera? It's either falling off the windshield or they covered it or something. We're in real time trying to solve those type of problems. We also, when we're talking to drivers, if they had issues like they're having trouble with following distance or they're having trouble with speeding or they're not putting in their trailer numbers in the ELD or anything like that, then we will reach out to your drivers directly and talk to them about what behavior needs to be corrected on that. So part of that is done by the team in Daphne, which is in our call center, and part of it's done by our account managers. And again, that's 24/7. So if you think about a line haul operation, a lot of times the driver is up in the middle of the night, and we may contact the driver at 2 o'clock in the morning because my team is trained to make sure the driver is on duty instead of waking them up during their break. So we're very cognizant of that to, make sure that we reach out to that. And then we can also reach out to the BCs and the AOs and talk to them about issues that are going on. But we're always trying to get with the driver to simply correct whatever the unsafe behavior is. We do accident handling, we have the training, we have the manager training, the curative training, the monthly training, the coachings training. We have all of that is included into the system, and I'll go through a little bit more in that. And then our account managers, what they're trying to do is they're trying to do the risk management. They're trying to figure out, okay, what is going on with this contract and what is it that is affecting their SRS score and what can we do to improve the operation? So data team is putting in the information into the software. The Daphne team is contacting drivers and making sure things are running smoothly with them. The accounts team is doing the risk management on, okay, we got some problem drivers. We need to solve whatever those problems are. When Becky and I started this, what we wanted to make sure of was that it was easy to use. So one of the aha moments that our customers have when they come on board is our dashboard is fairly simple. It's telling you what needs to be done, what needs to be worked on, and all that. But there's a million things going on behind the scenes, just all that data being put in, reviewed, validated, disputes being done, everything like that. But what the customer is seeing is a nice, clean dashboard that says, this is what is going on with my operation. So if you think about that, it's you don't have to log into your VEDR system and then your ELD system and then into a training system to figure out what's going on. This makes it a lot easier to manage the whole program. We also have gotten a onboarding team to make it very easy to bring customers on board. So, just getting a tractor list, driver list, get us the logins and getting us the documents, and we're off and running and we can get started very quickly with new clients. So we make it super simple to get onboarded with us. We are an approved vendor on MyGroundBiz. We have just found out recently that our training is approved and it should be on the training page soon. And so we're excited about that. So if you think about any outside training vendors or anything like that, the training is included in our program. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the software and explain how everything works. When I talk to a new customer, this is our dashboard. When you log into our system, this is what you see. So I tell management, and the way we like to work with contractors is the AO has access, the BCs have access. If they have another safety person or they have an admin person, we want everybody to have access to the system and that they can get to this. And I always tell them if they log into nothing else to look at anything else in our software, as long as they look at this page, I'm passing my KIs. This list needs to be clear, and I have 8 active trucks and 14 drivers. If all of that is green across the board, I'm green here, I have nothing wrong here, and this is correct, we're running pretty efficiently as a safety program on this. And so makes it real easy for management to, get a snapshot of what's going on in the system without having to dig into the safety and the drivers and the vehicles. Then, in addition to that, we understand that we get busy and we don't always have time to log into yet another software program, and it can be difficult to do that. So we started sending out a weekly report, basically to any manager that you wanted to go to, and it's giving you a snapshot. So if you think about managing the program, if this is coming out on Monday, which is when we send it out, this is showing you the last 7 days of what's going on. So you see that my fleet score is okay. I'm in the green. My driver score is pretty good. My camera score is good. My ELD score is good. My accident score. I need to work on my inspection score. I've got some roadside violations that I've got some issues with. And then We got things that are easily to identify. And what you can't see in this screenshot is if you scroll down, then it would be the details of everything. It'd be all your ELD events, it'd be all your camera events, it would be all the trainings that the drivers have done and the coachings and everything. It makes it super simple for your management team to just go, okay, this is what happened in the last week. And then our account managers follow up with a weekly report, basically doing the risk management of it. Everything that we do with line haul and any motor carrier that we operate with is an 80-20 rule. 80% of your drivers generally don't have a whole lot of problems. They may have an event or two in a month, but 20% of the drivers are really struggling, whether it's following distance or speeding or whatever. Our account managers are taking the same data and coming to the management in that weekly report saying, I know you got your weekly report, but if you could help us with this driver or this driver on getting the behavior changed, it really helps us to take those safety scores from ones, twos, threes to fours and fives. It really, the contractors that will follow that program always have a better safety outcome because they're involved in that. On Wednesday, we also send out a separate automated email on missing documents. We like a copy of the CDL, a copy of the medical card. The main reason for this, a lot of contractors have this in other systems, but if a driver gets pulled over at 2 o'clock in the morning on a roadside and the driver goes, man, I don't have my CDL with me or whatever, no problem. We'll text it to you right now. It's hard for us to manage to go, oh, in this company, it's over in this system or somewhere like that. So it's just helps us to have that for the driver documents and the truck documents. And I've had some situations where line haul stops a truck at 12:30 a.m. I had that happen up out of the Greenwood market, and they just stopped the truck and we couldn't go because it didn't have the updated annual inspection. We had it, sent it to line haul manager, got it done, truck is moving. So that helps us keep things moving smoothly in the middle of the night. We created a do not dispatch list. The way I explain this to new contractors that come with us is this is not saying you can't dispatch the driver. It's just timeout. We got a problem. The driver doesn't have a current medical card or CDL, or they have an open disciplinary action, or they haven't completed their training, or something is amiss that needs to be dealt with. And the do not dispatch list tells the contractor management, oh, I need to keep that clear. I need to make sure that Line Haul Central has this stuff. So we have everything covered on that. We also put vehicles on the list for, I don't have a current insurance card. I don't have a current annual inspection. I don't have a current registration. There's things going on with the vehicle that can be problematic, that it's bringing awareness to the management team of the contractor to say, we've got a problem and it needs to be fixed. And then the safety overview. So if you think about a contract, what I see most of the time is a contractor's really focused on their camera, their KIs, and things like that. We have a big overview of safety that is, over the cameras, over the driver behavior, over the ELD, over roadside inspections, over accidents, over incidents, over roadside violations. What you get from us is a complete picture of what is going on. So how well is the drivers handling the ELD? Are they putting their trailer numbers in? Are they putting in something for shipments? I get a lot of questions from managers that say, well, FedEx doesn't have a bill of lading. We don't have a shipping document. Yes, but in roadside, you have to put something in the shipment box. You can put in FedEx parcels. Line haul wants you to put in the seal numbers, but that box has to have something in it if the driver is moving a trailer. And that's just the way that has to be done. Trailers, we look at an ELD, they have to have the lead trailer, the dolly, the pup trailer. I'll get managers to come back to, well, the dolly's not a trailer. It doesn't go in there. It does go in there. You got to think about a roadside inspection. When a roadside inspection has happened from a DOT officer, it's unit one, unit two, the lead trailer, unit three, the dolly, and unit four, the pup trailer. So all of that goes into the trailers and certifying their logs every day. And then the VEDR score. We keep a score in our system, but we also are checking the score in the source system to make sure that they are matching. Then roadside inspections, how well are we doing on that? We reward drivers on clean inspections. There are negative points and curative training and coaching for violations. I just had one that I discussed this morning with an account where the driver was in Charlotte. They got a third lane violation where no trucks left lane. And, they're safety inactive. So we have to do curative training. We got to do a letter of assurance. We do all of that for the contractor and then deliver it to the contractor to deliver it to line haul. So there's a lot going on there. So these scores are coming up to make the driver score, and then however many drivers, the average of that is making the fleet score on that. Going back to the 80-20 rule. If you look in the safety section and you're looking at the drivers, we make it very simple to say drivers on the lowest driver list, those are our problem drivers. And generally in handling every contractor, it's speeding because they don't understand contract speed. They don't understand that California is 55 miles per hour for the entire state. They don't understand that you can't go down Interstate 77 in West Virginia at 83 miles an hour. There's things that are going on that put these drivers on this list. And if you think about your operation, you're probably going, yeah, I got that driver, I got that driver. You know who's on this list. The highest ranking drivers, again, may have one or two events in a month. And it's really, okay, great. They're getting the training, they're getting individual coachings on those. But this is what we're working on. This is what that keeps us up is how do we change the driver behavior? You just can't give them training and then expect them to change their behavior. So you have to figure out different ways, and a cookie cutter mold on training doesn't work. Give you an example. I had a driver that refused to wear a seatbelt. I kept getting on to him about it and finally had a discussion with him to ask the why. Driver, why won't you wear your seatbelt? Well, I grew up in Eastern Europe. We didn't have seatbelts in our cars. We didn't wear them. I never did in my entire life. But, you know, once I understood the why, then we were able to have a conversation with the driver to say, well, here's what the rules are. I need you to try to do this. Then I had to do the next thing, which was watch him on the camera and catch him wearing the seatbelt, and then call the driver back and say, great job, driver, doing a good job on wearing that seatbelt. Well, the interesting thing happened was he went to the other drivers for the entire terminal and said, hey, safety's watching you. You better wear your seatbelt. That was over 2 years ago. I have never had another problem with that driver. So we think about sitting down with the driver, we think about training, we think about this and all that. We really need to get to the why of what is causing the behavior and trying to correct that. Then we have individual driving scores. So if you think about your operations, a lot of line haul operations and possibly some P&D operations have driver incentive and bonus programs. So if you have something like that, you need something data-wise to figure out what's going on with the driver. So we have accounts that have a bonus program with their drivers, and they sit down with their drivers every single month. They pull up their driver screen and they go through their safety score. And let's say they're at 83.33% and their bonus is set at 85%. The conversation isn't you're not getting your bonus. The conversation is here's what you need to do to get up to the 85%, or you have a driver that's at 90%. How do I get the driver to 91%? So what they're doing is they're sitting down with the drivers from operations, because remember, you write their paychecks. You're the ones that are issuing the bonus. We're giving you all the data to help you manage that a whole lot easier, to sit down with your drivers. Some of them, I have some contractors that do this every week. Drivers, we call it on the list, too many following distance. You're on the list. If I don't see improvement by next week, then we're going to have a problem. I'm going to have to let you go, or something else is going to happen. So this makes it very easy for a manager to review with your drivers what's going on safety wise. There's a lot going on with line haul right now with ELDs. So we're transitioning the entire fleet to motive. I have another webinar on the motive transition. You reach out to us. We'll send you that link if you haven't seen that. And line haul is going through a lot more rigorous review of the ELD component of our operation. So when we were back using Trimble and Omnitrax, the problem line haul was having is they did not have good information going into headquarters to really put the hammer down on a contractor that's not using their ELD correctly. Well, now that they're going to one system, they have that data now. So what are they going to be looking at? Form and manner. Drivers got to, again, put in the trailer numbers, put in their shipments, certify their logs every day, do the paper logs correctly when that happens, making sure all that's done. Then they're really harping on UDEs. Our contractors are already receiving emails from line haul going, you got too many UDEs. What's going on with this? Handling UDEs, which are unidentified driving events, and the ELD is a nightmare to handle. So we have found that your BCs and if you have safety folks, it's difficult to manage that. I mean, it's really difficult for us. I can't even imagine having a single individual with a contract trying to clear out UDEs every day. So if you think about what the issue is our drivers are driving at night, the tractors are parked during the day, other drivers, BCs, mechanics are moving the trucks during the day, taking it to the wash, taking it to the shop, moving it from one parking spot to another, things like that. It's creating these UDEs. So we go back to our contractors. Well, you need to make sure your managers and your mechanics are using a mechanic profile and logging in and making these UDEs go away. It's a very difficult process to make that happen. So then what are you left with? You're left with a dashboard every day that has 10, 15, 20 UDEs that you have to clear out, because line haul's starting to send you emails going, what the heck is going on with these UDEs and why are y'all not dealing with those? So we do all of that for you, and it's a lot on the UDEs. Then we're looking at the violation. So we're looking at the roadside violations, but we're really looking at the violations in the ELD. So if you think about the problems there, 30-minute break. Okay, I went from terminal A to terminal B. I'm on yard move. You can take your 30-minute break on yard move, but I only stayed in yard move for 29 minutes. Did get my 30-minute break. I get a 30-minute break violation. Another common one is driver is leaving from a terminal to go to a bump, a rest area, truck stop, whatever. They're on time. The other driver is late. I see some great fist fights on the VEDR camera on that. But the other driver is late. The driver that was on time is in a hurry. They don't wait the full 30 minutes, and then you get that 30-minute break violation. So that's getting transmitted to line haul, and that has to be dealt with. That's one-on-one coaching with the drivers to say, what happened in this incident? I need you to use yard move a lot more effectively, and here's the strategies to do that. Or if you're at a bump, you need to do this better. We have our contractors have their drivers call us when they're running out of hours. Hey, I'm approaching my 11 hours and I don't have any hours. Our team will talk to them, go through everything, and, oh, well, maybe there's adverse conditions that we can use here, or that we have to instruct them to, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. You're going to have to run in violation on this, because that is a better option than falsifying the log to go into PC or something else that will falsify the log, because that puts us in a very bad position on a roadside violation, a lot of CSA points, and that's going to get on the radar with FedEx on that. So we're identifying all that, then we're coaching the drivers. Some drivers get it, then we have to do curative training with them. And there's just a lot to handle on the ELD that traditionally, leading up to the motive integration, wasn't a big deal because we weren't on the radar. Nobody was really looking at us, but contractors are already receiving pretty strict emails right now on UDEs and form and manner and things like that. The big thing in motive is motive identifies all the form and manner things. Trimble and Omnitrax never did. So that's a big issue there. So anyway, we handle all the ELD events for you and try to get the change the driver behavior to make it correct. Very much like the ELD, what we're doing with the VEDR events is downloading the information into our system. Yes, it's great that we have a list from whether it's Lytx, Ground Cloud, Motive, or Velociter, but then we have to review the events to make sure that they make sense. And there is a lot of issues with VEDR events. So for one VEDR carrier, if the seatbelt is over the shoulder, you pass. If the seatbelt is on the deltoid, you fail. One VEDR carrier, if the sun visor is down, you can dispute it. Another VEDR company, if you dispute that, you won't win it. There's a lot of nuances to handling the VEDR events that we have the expertise to know we can win this or we're not going to win this, and here's what the issue is. So if you think about the day-to-day process, we're bringing in those VEDR events, we're reviewing the VEDR events, we're disputing the VEDR events, and then we are updating our system so your managers can see that in real time on, okay, this is what's going on. We also get sorry. We also get live alerts on drowsy driving, accidents, near collisions, and drowsy driving. And so that helps us to manage certain critical things in real time, but we also are doing all that. Incidents and accidents. So we do a full accident investigation. I don't care how small the incident is. It's always the small event that turns out to be a nightmare for a contractor. So in Motive and Lytx, those are our connected systems right now that are connected to us live. So if there's an accident in a truck that has a Motive or Lytx camera, we get notification within 3 to 5 minutes of that accident occurring. So when that comes to our team, it goes into an alert channel. Our team member looks at it. We get a little bit of video snippet. We look at the video. We go, oh, wow, there's an accident there. We immediately are calling the driver to talk to them. We're talking to the manager. We're doing all of that. Then we're doing the full accident investigation. We're getting any witnesses. We're getting the videos downloaded. We're getting the weather report, photos, inspection report. accident notes, our last 8 days of logs, the police report. We're filling out the accident report. We put everything together and then send it to the contractor and say, this is all in one link that you can send to your insurance carrier, Paradiso, or you can send it to line haul. We collect everything. So generally our accident investigation is pretty much done within an hour after it has occurred. And that's, again, it's on everything on, I had a door pull incident. I had a dolly disconnect. I have a rut at the terminal or anything like that, these minor things that turn into nightmares for contractors. We do all of that. And as I try to explain to people, we put it in a gold box with a red ribbon on it. And then you have that available at your disposal on who you need to report it to. Roadside inspections. So the way that we like our contractors to teach their drivers to do roadside inspections is have the driver call us when they get pulled over. Why? We want to start pulling the better video on that stop. We like to explain to our drivers to take pictures of the defect. Have a conversation with the DOT officer on the side of the road to say, just want to let you know, it would help me to have a better understanding of what the defect is. You're saying there's a problem in the tire. Is it okay if you show me what that defect is and let me take a picture of it? If we have the VEDR footage and we have the pictures of the defect and we have the roadside inspection report, our DOT officer has a much better success rate on challenging it through a data queue, because that's what's happening is we collect that information, we figure out if there's a way that we can get the violation removed, and then we do the data queue on behalf of the FedEx DOT number, and we submit all of those data queues, and then we put all that information into our system. So you can just follow right along. Did we data queue it? Yes. Here's what was submitted. Yes, we got that. And you can see what we're doing on all of these different roadside inspections. So that's the initial. Then back to the risk management of it is, all right, how are we going to make sure this doesn't happen in the future? Do we need to have, curative training with the drivers on third lane violations? Do we need to be talking about tires? Do we need to be talking about the dolly? Whatever it is, then we need to do the next step of how do we prevent it in the future. Going back to the drivers, we track I know we have First Advantage, and a lot of contractors use third-party software systems to put their drivers in for recruiting and stuff like that. Again, we want the CDL and MedCard in our system. We're tracking the expiration of those, and we want them available at 2 o'clock in the morning to give to the drivers in case they need it. The driver safety score, we deliver that to the drivers and through the managers, and then they're able to see what their safety scores are. Again, like I said earlier, is a lot of managers sit down for their bonus program or anything like that. The interesting thing that happened with our data that I did not realize that the contractors were using it for was unemployment claims. And so if you think about that, and you have to terminate a driver that you've been having problem after problem after problem after problem, we have the data. We have it, all of it. We have all of the VEDR events, the ELD events, whatever training they didn't do, roadside inspections, accidents, and everything. Everything is in our system to say, well, I know that they filed an unemployment claim, but here's why we have it. And contractors are winning those unemployment claims because they have the data finally. Things about vehicles is, again, tracking the expiration dates. If, for the insurance folks, their struggle is what vehicle vehicles are we insuring today? So you've got Schedule B, you've got these trucks running and things like that. Our system is able to go and look at the ELD. You know, we have humans that are looking at the ELD and we go, we got all these unidentified driving events and we don't know what this tractor is. So we can contact the account and go, oh, we got a new tractor here. Or we see a tractor hasn't moved. Oh yeah, we sold that tractor. You know, it's helping us to keep everything straight. Our experience when we get a new contractor is we'll get into an ELD, we call it the ELD cleanup. The contract has 20 or 30 drivers, but they add drivers, but they never delete drivers or vehicles. And so we have to do cleanups in the VEDR system and the ELD system to make sure all of that is running smoothly and correctly. We have our own driver app. And if you think about, again, I'm trying to give you cost savings. You know, we've covered a lot about how we're doing a lot of this that can save time and money for your operation. But in our driver app, we have a pre-trip inspection. So if you're using programs like Whip Around or Fleetio or anything like that, this is included in our program. The connection photos, highly recommend if you are not having your drivers do connection photos, and they hate it. They absolutely hate to do it, but it does help with disconnect disputes to have those photos. We have that in there, the driver training, and then the driver safety score. So the driver can see what is going on live with their program. We also have a copy of their driver's license and med card in that app. So just in case they need it. And sometimes they just forget it's in there and we have to remind them on that. So if you think about training for a contract, FedEx requires you to use an approved training vendor, and that can be one of several of those. You have to use their onboarding training. So let's say they deliver 5 onboarding videos and then they do monthly training. And like recently, one of the training videos was on night driving. The issue with that is it's not really addressing your problem drivers, right? You know, that's difficult. So what we worked out is we're able to deliver training dynamically to your drivers based on their behavior. So we have the manager training, we have the onboarding training that looks and feels more like line haul and P&D than it does generic training. And then we have the monthly training, but the monthly training is delivered more in what the need of the driver is. So they have a following distance problem, they're getting following distance, not night driving. So it makes it easier for us to manage and deal with the driver problems to deliver the training dynamically like that. We also have contractors that come to us. They go, a recent one was, our work comp carrier needs a training video on dolly safety. Okay, well, if you need it, then all of my customers need it. We need training on the new Motive ELD. Well, Motive has a knowledge base, but it's very difficult to do that. So we created all of the Motive training for the driver, the BC, you know, quick guides for, you know, handling the ELD and doing all that. But our training is much more than just training. We do automatic coaching. And the way that works is if you think about today, a driver gets a following distance event in the camera and they get a 30-minute break violation in the ELD. Instead of sending 2 emails to the driver for those 2 things, they receive 1 email the following day with a short training video on following distance, a short video on the 30-minute break problem in the ELD, and they do that. Then if a driver gets to 2 or 3 events in a month, they go, we're not seeing any improvement with them, then we'll assign curative training to the driver, plus one-on-one discussion with the driver. Again, a lot of times we're trying to get to the why. driver, why do you keep doing this? Why are you having this problem? And then doing all these different things with the one goal of changing the driver behavior. We do a lot with safety. So in the day-to-day operations that come from line haul. So you're getting emails for missing logs. Send it to us. We'll handle it. I'm getting an email because of an ELD issue. Send it to us. We'll handle it. I had a driver that had an incident at 7 o'clock on Saturday. They got safety disqualified. Saturday at 7 p.m., we will assign curative training to that driver. We will write the curative training letter. We will send it to the manager, and they will send it to line haul usually within an hour after that situation happens. So we handle all of those situations where there is a situation that you've got to get your cash register moving again, and we have to do that in real time. Then there's times where line haul comes to a contractor and says, I need a letter of assurance. We will write the entire letter of assurance. I hate to say we've written a lot of those. And line haul doesn't want it from us, but we write it to, like, I'll ask the line haul manager, the AO, who's the line haul manager and what terminal? Oh, it's so and so at this terminal. We draft a letter like the AO wrote it with their signature on it. We just deliver it to the AO, and then all they have to do is quick read it, make a couple of changes if they need to, sign it, send it to line haul manager, done. Same thing with opportunity to cure. If we get into an OTC, I want to see that the OTC has been given. I want to know what the issues are and the things like that, and that we write out a full plan. That's a much more detailed program on doing that. We do the accident disputes where an accident happens and line haul says this is a preventable accident. We write the disputes on behalf of the contractor, do all that. We have roadside violations. We need to dispute this because the violation was on unit 2, 3, or 4, meaning it's equipment owned by line haul and it's something our driver could not catch. And we have to do a dispute on those. We're doing the data queues that I mentioned earlier. That's where you go into the FMCSA portal, data queue portal, and we are disputing roadside violations on behalf of the FedEx DOT. So we're doing all of that on the contractor's behalf and also reviewing the SRS report, the Safety Results Summary Report. We want those every month. And we want to review them. We want to see where was the contractor last month? Where are they going this month? And as soon as I get a new SRS report, I look back 12 months. Okay, what's falling off? All right, that disconnect's falling off. That roadside's falling off. Okay, I can calculate the points to say, okay, we're at a tier 3. We have enough points that if we can keep everything clean for the next 3 weeks, we're going to go to a tier 4. So it really helps us manage your program from getting those SRS reports, looking at it, and trying to figure out a plan of action of this is what we need to do and work on that. Some of my contractors, they really get the BCs involved in that to say, look, Linehaul Central has identified these problems from our SRS report. They're identifying all this stuff from the data, and we need to get this stuff fixed. And then they're able to help us on getting all of that done. As I say to people, we can handle 90% of safety. We still need the last 10% from a contractor to put the hammer down and use us as basically the bad guys to say, look, safety is identified. We got some problems and you need to fix these. I get asked a lot when we bring or we're talking to new contractors about this. They go, I have a safety manager. What am I going to do with that person? That's a difficult question on that. So let me just give you some of my experience with other contractors on that. The value that we bring is on everything I've shown you today on what we do. It's very difficult for a safety manager to do everything. I mean, it's taken a village for us to raise a line haul contractor and I'm being serious about that. And covering 168 hours is just very difficult for a safety person to handle it, or a BC or something like that. So some contractors, they keep the BC or the safety person on board, again, to be the hammer, to be the conductor of the orchestra, and we're the safety orchestra. They get them involved in more duties like taking care of your number one customer, FedEx, working more on scheduling, more on recruiting, more on driver development, things like that, to where you can get a lot more out of that individual if we're doing everything else that on the monitoring and the training and all that, this can really help. One of the things that I see contractors struggle with is recruiting. Well, that's my best driver. I can't fire that driver. You know, that's my go-to, but it's the one that's wrecking their SRS report. I always encourage companies to always be recruiting. One of our contractors, he says this all the time, and he's right. You always have to be recruiting. Remember that 80-20 rule. 20% of your drivers are going to be problems. And that's the 20% that you're going to just keep turning and turning and turning and turning. So if you get your manager more focused on that, driver development, working with line haul better, what can we do better? What can we do more with maintenance? What can we do more with the trucks? We free up time for that individual to do that. And we have contractors that bring us on board and they go, yeah, we don't need a safety person anymore. Y'all have it covered, and my manager can handle that 10% that you're asking to handle. I know we covered a lot today, and the thing I want you to think about is working with Brian O'Connor's group in Paradiso is we're trying to put the best safety program together so him and his staff can talk to the underwriters and the people they need to talk about and say, oh yeah, they got Line Haul Central, they got this program, they got this driver handbook, they got this training, they got these coachings, they got the ELD squared away, they got this done, they got all that. And if you think about it, from in addition to that, it's really about contract protection. That's what keeps me up at night is the SRS report. If I have a contractor that comes into us at a 1, how quickly can I get them to a 2? Then I need to get them to a 3. Then I need to get them to a 4. And again, if you think about how line haul works, is you're locked out of expanding your business or getting new business or anything like that if you don't keep the SRS report score high. And that's really what, if you take it all the stuff I've talked about today, it's really coming down to that report and then the metal system. And, okay, we got the part of the metal system covered because safety's covered and all that. So having better training, we really focus on more of the onboarding of drivers. We really get into that driver onboarding checklist, doing mock DOT inspections, building our training so it looks, feels, and sounds like line haul and P&D, that the training is dialed into what the driver behavior is, and all to control the insurance costs. So with our great partnership with Paradiso, and again, Brian and his group have made this happen, and they have really gone overboard to try to get this done. So we normally charge $50 a truck per month. We usually charge an onboarding fee. And then we worked it out with Brian's group that there is no onboarding fee and it's $35 a truck per month. That's it. And then for P&D, it's $25 a truck per month. We had a handful of P&D contractors. I just want to be upfront about that, but this is the best price in the entire line haul ecosystem is through Paradiso.
Great, thank you, John.
Yeah. So let me look and see what questions we have.
Hey, John, if you look at the answered tab, there's a couple of questions from James.
Do you have any line haul contractors use Velociter for their cameras? If so, do you find their system workable or viable? We have over 100 line haul contractors, and I have one contractor with one Velociter camera in one tractor. And that here's the problem with Velociter is if you think about accident response and you have to download the video, the way that they download the video is 1 minute increments. You may need 20 minutes of video before an accident, 20 minutes after an accident, and you're downloading 40 minutes of video, and then you're having to string them together and all that. I think with what I said, we have one contractor with one truck with one camera. That's telling you there. What are the chances that FedEx will approve another ELD vendor by next summer? 0. They really struggled with Trimble and Omnitrax. So they were trying to get the Trimble data and the Omnitrax data into a clearinghouse, a database, and Trimble and Omnitrax did not do a good job on delivering that information to FedEx. So now they have one data source. Currently they have 3, but where they're going in 2026 is they are going to have one data source. And again, like I said in this presentation with Motive, they had the form and manner now. They didn't have that in Omnitrax and in Trimble. They have it now. I mean, Motives puts it right on the dashboard. Your driver did not put trailer numbers in. Your driver did not put in shipment numbers. Your driver didn't sign their log. All of that's being transmitted live to FedEx. That's why contractors are starting to see these emails.
Great, thank you, John. And one of the most popular compliments that I receive is that the BCs or the managers, ownership, this system allows them to get back a lot of time so that they can spend more time connecting with current drivers to keep the good drivers and spend a lot more time on recruiting to bring in good drivers. So when this system tells them, hey, we have an issue with a driver, then you can fire that driver and put somebody else in that seat quickly. You don't have to hold on to bad drivers. Like there was one example from one of our clients. Every Monday night, he was getting drowsy alerts. And there were enough drowsy alerts that John's team would call up the driver and talk to that person, talk to the driver to make sure that they didn't crash or have a rollover. And then we found out the why, like just like what John had said before. That driver's schedule on every single Monday was not his normal schedule and made him very sleepy. So Monday nights at night, that was the only night he had those drowsy alerts. But that driver was not changing his Monday schedule. So we were just going to have to wait every single Monday, wait for that rollover, wait for that crash. But the TSP was able to spend a lot more time on recruiting. So they put a new driver in that seat right away before, a bad crash on a Monday night. So I would say that's the most popular compliment that I get. But John, thank you very much. We have our insurance companies, there's our FedEx insurance program. Some of them already know about what you do, and that does help us with underwriting on the work comp side and on the truck insurance.
Right, and we had one more question that said, do you handle workers' comp claims? I have a lot of experience in workers' comp claims. That's what I oversaw for Lowe's Home Centers for many years. We're working with Brian's group to try to provide some bridge for that. What we already are doing is training for work comp. So like dolly safety, the pull handles for the fifth wheel, 3-point contacts, the reasonable suspicion training for drivers, all of those things that matter to the work comp carrier. We're including that into our training and working with the Paradiso group on what more can we do to help streamline the work comp phase of this. All right. I really appreciate every one of you taking the time here to reach out. I know I covered a lot about the ELD and VEDR cameras and things like that. If you have questions on that, feel free to reach out to us and say, I need some help with this or whatever. I will have Bethany's with my organization send out an email. We have a link for the Motive webinar. So we have the Motive webinar, we have the Motive training videos, we have the Motive documents, the quick guides. I also have an hours of service website for all of the things that are going on with FedEx. But I wanted to add a little value to this for you taking the time to listen about our program and how we're working with Paradiso Insurance to say, okay, let's get you some solutions to some of this. But I really thank everyone for being here today.
Great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.